boy, do we have a Stanley Cup Finals now. I thought for sure this was Panthers in 5. And the way this thing started, I got out the broom. You look up now. My goodness gracious, here come the Oil. So they're going back home for Game 6. I mean, what has been your reaction to the Oilers' offense? I almost feel like saying that the offense has woke up is like an understatement of the century. Like, they are alive, and they mean business. And that Connor McDavid kid is different level, Adam.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And you know what, Travis? I looked at this series. I thought the Oilers were going to win in 7.
Oh, wow.
And I think, and again, I think most people pick the Panthers, and I understand that. And the Panthers may still end up winning this series. But the reason that I picked the Oilers is I'm like, you know what? Connor McDavid is just on another level. He's just on another level, and I'm gonna go with the superstar. I'm gonna go with the Michael Jordan of this series, and it didn't look very good over the first 3 games of the year, 3 games of the series. But I'll tell you what, Trev, even though they lost Game 3, the Oilers scored 2 third-period goals.
Yeah.
And they made it a 4-3 game. And I wonder if that sort of sparked something with them, because you look at how things played out in Game 4, where they throttled Florida 8-1. And then they come out in this game, in Game 5, and they go up 4-1. They score the first goal. They score first. They get to it almost looked like the Panthers were a little defeated after giving up the shorty to start Game 5. And I wonder if the Oilers have sort of figured out Bobrovsky and also have figured out the Panthers' forecheck, because the Panthers' forecheck, as we saw in the series against the Bruins, is a monster. But I think, I really do think that, the Oilers' speed and their breakouts, they, just from what I've seen, have been better, using the boards more effectively to beat Florida's forecheck. I think they may have figured something out, and I'm very curious to see how things play out, as we all are, in Game 6 in Edmonton.
So am I. I actually think the Oil may have cracked something in Game 3, even though they lost that game. Here's why I say this. Game 1, they were blanked. Game 2, they scored 1 goal. Game 3, although they lost the game, Adam, they scored 3 goals. They lost that game 4-3. McDavid hadn't come alive yet in terms of lighting the back of the net. But I still feel like in that game, even though you lost, and we always joke about there's no moral victories, but sometimes there is. And it's like, okay, maybe we're starting to sort of figure this team out. And then you talked about it. I mean, obviously Game 4 changed this entire series. When you go out there, you put 8 goals up, and McDavid has entered the chat, right? So I think obviously now they figured something out defensively on Florida. Certainly looks to me like they figured out Bob. I mean, they are getting to him like nobody's business. I thought the Bruins did a pretty good job on him, but no one else in this playoff run for the Panthers has been able to figure him out in that Panthers defense. So I agree with you that the Oil are not afraid of him. They figured out some weakness in that Panther defense. But, boy, McDavid is just taking over this series. I still think, though, a team like Florida, who can lock down on defense, who can lock you up, who can figure it out, I just feel like sometimes those kind of teams are better on the road than they are at home. I think at home sometimes there's almost too much pressure to score. And that's what the Oil want. Like, yeah, let's go. Let's get in a track meet. We'd love that. I think going on the road here, a little bit of doubt starting to creep in, that outside noise, they're going to hear all that. This is not some young Panthers team. They've been around the block. They've been here more than the Oil have. So I actually think they're going to win Game 6 and just rip the hearts out of all the Edmonton fans right on their home ice.
Yeah, you know what, though? It's funny because it's only happened once in the history of the Stanley Cup final where a team down 3-0 has come back to win it.
Right.
This is the first time that a team that was down 3-0 has come back to win Game 5 on the road.
Wow.
So that has never happened before. And I mention that because, it's not like Florida is flying to Nashville.
Right.
It's not like Florida is flying, to somewhere close. They got to get on that plane. And I know the Oilers do too, but they're riding high and they're in survival mode. But Florida flew home. I'm just thinking of the psychological aspect of it, Travis.
Sure.
After losing game 4, all right, we lost game 4, 8-1. It's a blip on the radar. We saw it happen in the NBA Finals where the Mavericks throttled the Celtics in game 4.
Yeah.
Celtics, though, came back and left no doubt right out of the gate that they were going to win that series. They were going to win the game. They were going to win the championship. What happened in the Panthers-Oilers series is that the Oilers score first. Not only do they score first, but they score a shorthanded goal, Travis.
Right.
And so they end up going down 4-1. Yeah, they came back, but they lose 5-3.
Yeah.
Now, instead of in the back of their minds thinking this thing is wrapped up, we're celebrating, we're going out, and we're gonna celebrate our Stanley Cup.
Right.
They got to go back to Edmonton now.
Oh,
That's a psychological game.
Yeah.
That it's like now you're starting to think about it a little bit, and I can't underestimate that.
Yeah.
That's a factor going into game 6.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good
Now,
point.
game 7, anything can happen, but for game 6,
Yeah. Well, listen, for game 7, I'm going to always err on the side of the best player, and that's Connor McDavid. So,
yeah.
Obviously game 7 is advantage Edmonton. Speaking of Connor McDavid, I mean, he is a favorite to win the Conn Smythe right now. And win or lose, I almost feel like he's already clinched this, Adam. So 5 players in history have won the Conn Smythe while playing for the losing team in the Stanley Cup final. It should be noted, 4 out of the 5 are goalies. And we know how that goes. Your goalie gets hot, sky is the limit. So 4 goalies, 1 forward on this list. It goes all the way back to the 60s, all the way up to present day, 2003. So, big names, some big names on here. Ron Hextall's on here in the 80s. But do you think Connor McDavid, I almost feel like he's already won it. Adam, I've said this before. I grew up, and so did you. We're like aged. We watched Wayne Gretzky. So I'm having a hard time saying anyone is better than Wayne Gretzky overall. But I am willing to concede right now that Connor McDavid is faster. He is the fastest skater I've ever seen in my life. I don't even think it's close. And he's probably a little bit more skilled overall than Wayne Gretzky, but he doesn't have the accolades yet. So we'll see how his career plays out. A Stanley Cup here wouldn't hurt, Adam, but I think he's winning Conn Smythe, win or lose.
Yeah, he's got the individual accolades in terms of regular season achievements, the Hart trophies, and and whatnot, but not a Stanley Cup yet. Yeah, I mean, if Edmonton had lost and gotten swept and Bobrovsky stood on his head, it was probably him.
Yes,
but now he's allowed 12 goals in the last 2 games.
Oh,
and McDavid has notched 4-point back-to-back 4-point games. He's got 8 points in his last 2 games. He's got 42 points in the postseason. He's got 11 points in the Stanley Cup final. He's 2 shy of tying Gretzky for the all-time Stanley Cup final record for points in the series.
Filthy.
And we still got, game 6 to play and a potential game 7 to play. But if the Oilers don't end up pulling this out, I still think it's got to be McDavid. His performance was not only outstanding, it's historic.
Right.
It's historic. So, and he's clearly been the best player in the series. So again, like it's rare, but in this case, I don't see who else. Yeah. Because of the fact that Bobrovsky, who I think was the front runner, it has leaked a little bit, and I think now it's McDavid has surpassed him in terms of being the favorite.
Yeah, I agree. So Adam and I agree, but do you? 617-790-0928. Hit us on the hotline. You can also email us the chat at nesson.com. And I always say to tweet us. We show them every single time here on Hold My Band when Boston has entered the chat. By the way, the show is interactive, so we need you to be a part of it. So let's go to the tweets because they are fired up for Connor McDavid, just like we are, Adam. This dude is intergalactic, planetary. Let's get to the tweets here. Look at this. Look at the Look at the LeBron face. McDavid in all caps. I mean, bro, he is dialed in, Adam.
That's the game 6 that I referenced earlier in Boston.
That's right. You sure did. Tweets kept firing. McDavid right now, just man on fire. This is from Woody. And yes, he is in fuego.
What else can you say?
7. Are we headed to game 7? Adam, I think it's over in 6. You think it's going to 7, it sounds like.
I remember this episode, and she's not talking about hockey. I'll just say that.
I wasn't ready. I was not prepared. I love doing this program. I love doing this program with you, my friend. I got to tell you.